Because anytime I sang at home, my father used to say, "Will you stand at the door so the neighbours will see we're not baiting you?" But it's a great pleasure to be here, and we're coming up to Christmas, and I think Christmas is a mixed bag for many of us, isn't it? I mean, when we're children, we look forward to it with such passion and joy and a sense of, just we can't wait for it. And as we get older, it begins to gather other memories and other associations for us all. I remember we'd have a sing-song at home, and of course you never sang anybody else's song. That was a mortal sin. But gradually, as you got older, you began to notice that some of the songs brought tears to the eyes of the older ones. And I began to realise, as I grew older again, that Christmas is a time of presents, and if you'll pardon the pun, it's also a time of absence. And in many ways, this is what we do in grieving. We long for the present, for the presence of the person, and we rage and we weep at their absence. It's very nice to be here at this time of the year. I have two little stories about Christmas I want to tell you, because they both involve children. One is, there was a teacher and she prepared her class for the play for Christmas, you know, the nativity play. And if you're parents yourself, and if you've had children go through this, you know exactly what that is like. The teacher spends weeks and weeks and weeks preparing them so that the parents are word perfect on the night. Then the parents all come with big overcoats, because of course the school never turn on the heat in the evening. And we sit in small desks looking out through our knees, and we only see one child for the whole night, which is an extraordinary thing. And out they come, and at this particular night, Joseph led Mary across the stage, and he knocked on the door of the inn. And a little fella who was 5, had a lisp and an attitude, came out to the door with a little apron on him. And he said, "Yes." And Joseph said, "My poor wife is expecting a baby. There is no room for us anywhere in the world. Is there room in your inn?" And the little fella said, "Of course there is. Come in." And he wrecked the whole play. But typical of a child, you know, Brishan undochers, isn't that it? Nature will out. And the other one was, I was listening to Roisin singing Silent Night earlier, and this poor teacher, she was trying to teach them Silent Night, and she taught them Silent Night, Holy Night, all is calm, all is bright, around yon virgin mother and child. And then she said, "Now, to get it into your heads, draw the crib." So she got 42 cribs up to the top of the class. And she went through them all, and they all had the usual characters except one. And she called them up and she said, "Michael, that's Mary, and that's Joseph, and that's the donkey, and that's the cow, and that's the baby. Who is the big fat man at the back?" He said, "That's round John Virgin." Totally. It's lovely being back with you again this year. I said to my wife, I've been invited back to Maynooth again for the remembrance, and I was feeling very good about it, and she said, "Well, of course, that's because they didn't understand a word you said last year." And I said to her, "I'll have you know, a lady came up to me after last year and said, I could listen to you talk all day." And she said, "Well, that made 2 of you." Should be very careful about marrying a girl from Waterford. They're still celebrating their 1 in a row. But actually, a lady came up to me last year and she put manners on me. She said to me, "Christy, you're talking a lot about the heartbreak of bereavement." She said, "I am at a different stage in my journey. I am at a stage where I have taken my loved one into myself, and I'm going forward now to put, a new life together for myself." And all I could think of to say was, "I am very happy for you." And I am indeed happy for all of those who arrive at that point of their journey. But at the same time, I must say my heart is very full for those who are at other stages of the journey. And the one thing I know about tonight is that no 2 people here carry the same grief. No 2 people here travel exactly the same path. We are all of us like a delta. We are stringing out and threading out and finding our own way to whatever is the truth for us. So to any of you who are here tonight, who are in the very early stages of numbness of the heart, that terrible shock that paralyzes the heart, so that we wonder what is wrong with us, that we can neither laugh nor can we cry, that we seem to be in neutral gear, that we seem to exist rather than to live, then I would say to you, sit in your silence and your shock, savor your friends. Savor your friends. Your friends are those who come and sit with you in silence, if silence is what is good for you just now. Oh, the terrible temptation people have to talk. The terrible temptation and seduction there is to give counsel and to give advice and to say, if I were you now, and sure, life is a great, time is a great healer, and all those things. And all those things come from a good heart. But they come from a heart that is unaware that it is the need of the person who is grieving rather than of the one who comes to them that is paramount. That the only agenda is your agenda, not ours. And so to find somebody who is willing to sit with you in the silence and in the unknowing. One lady said, my greatest friend in my bereavement was a girl who came to visit me practically every day, and she brought a packet of fig roll biscuits. Now, I'm not under commission from Jacobs, but she said she would say, put on the kettle and we'll have the cup of tea. And as soon as the tea was made, she would open the packet and she would eat every biscuit in the packet herself. And she said, so for the next 20 minutes, her total philosophical or theological contribution to my condition was, And of course it was wonderful, because what she did was, she let the other girl out. And that's what people do to you when they love you in bereavement. They don't try and get into your life with words or ideas or consolations. They create a space within which you are free to come out if and when you want to, and to go back at your comfort. So find friends and savor those friends. And for those of you tonight who are in anger, because you may be angry at many things, you may be angry at many people, you may be angry at yourself, you may be angry at the dead for dying, all of these are valid, ordinary, normal feelings in any bereavement. And so I would say to you, do not be terrified of your anger. Anger is the emanation, it is the mist, it is the vapor that rises from the spirit when that spirit is threatened or oppressed or under pressure. And what greater pressure is there than the death of a loved one? So be true to your anger, and yet God help us how hard it is to be angry in Ireland, because we had it beaten out of us at the earliest possible opportunity. You remember when you were small, you know, and what did they say to you when you were angry? They said you were bold. They said you were a caffler. They said you were a pup. They said get up that stairs and come down when you have a civil tongue in your head. And you went up muttering all the way. And you stood in front of the mirror of the wardrobe in your room and you muttered a bit more. And then you smelt the tea, or you heard them talking, and you made an act of partial contrition. And you came down the stairs, one leg as long as the other, and they said, oh, here's the brave boy. Say you're sorry. I'm sorry. I can't hear you. I'm sorry. I can't hear you. I'm sorry. Get up that stairs, you pup. And you were around again. But we became terrified of our anger, and don't be terrified of your anger. It is a normal thing. Anger is a form of prayer. Like music, it is more sublime than words. Anger is that we rage at the dissolution of the life we had created. This fabric of our world that we had mapped and we had measured and we had our security in it was torn from top to bottom and thrown away in our bereavement. And it is right for us that we should be angry. It is right for us that we should rage against others or against the dead, because if they were alive, It is one of the ways in which we would have sorted our differences. We would have argued. We would have used the JCB of anger to move the rubbish that had accumulated between the two of us and to create a cleaner relationship. There is no reason in the world why we wouldn't do that with the dead. Sometimes we search and sometimes we hold. And there are people here tonight who still search for their dead, who go into a room and think he should be there, who listen in the evening thinking I should hear her voice at this time. And that too is normal, and that too is loving, because we are connected by our senses to the living. And when they leave us, we must grieve them through our senses. And so it is that we hold on to things, a watch, a ring, little things, the coat, a tie, a shirt, anything that we associate with the person who has died now becomes sacramental to us. It becomes a sacred object. And so again we can use that object to facilitate and to mediate our grief. But the ones I will leave my final word for tonight are the people who are especially dear to my heart anyway. And those are the ones who are in sadness. Now, you'll notice I don't say depression, because the psychologists tell us that grief will not give you depression. If you have been depressed already, you may be depressed again in bereavement, but it certainly doesn't give you depression. What it does bring to many of us is that sooner or later it brings a period of great sadness, where we lose our taste for the things of the world, where we don't have the energy for the small things, and we can feel guilty about that, particularly coming up to Christmas, when there's so much demand on our energies, so much demand on us to be part of the whirl and part of the festivity and the joy, and frankly, we don't just have the energy for it. And what I'd say to you is, don't leave your Gethsemane too quickly. Reverence the time when you are down, when you are in, when you feel most alone, helpless, powerless. Because perhaps at that moment you have touched the core of what your loved one felt before they offered their lives back to God. And you have journeyed with them to the very brink of their existence and to the very limit of your soul, into that silence and that sadness. And there together you have both touched the hand of God. It may well be, and it often is, that you are the only one who will travel back from that place into what is called acceptance and recreating a new life. But you will carry with you the essence of your loved one, to remember and to hold and to carry forward always in your remembrance. So finally, for you and for all of you, I will just dedicate this little poem to you and your loved ones. You are in the first light time of morning, the diamond-studded cobweb trove of dew, the first soft singing song of thrush and robin, a lark new stretching upward to the blue. The sun that rises with a breath of mist from every newborn day and living thing still finds me in that first light time of morning remembering. And in the hectic humdrum of the day-to-day, the many cares my heart must dwell upon seem somehow pointless, actions done by rote, now you are gone. And yet, the touching glance of friendship, the tear I find fresh formed in friendship's eye, all say, my heart, do not give thought to endings. Your heart is nigh. And so, farewell. Farewell on new-found journey, fare far and wide, fare forward without fear. Free spirit, up, away, and yonder, your heart is here. Thank you and God bless you.